I want to pick up.
I also want to talk about the new thing that's going on right now, that people are like really happy and I'm not, is that they want to create some kind of data where they can protect the murals of Chicago.
We'll ask you about that.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you though. You're saying don't put stuff that's not about the Chicago Latino experience, Mexican American experience. You know, like the farm worker stuff, the Aztec stuff. What would a representation of the Chicago Latino experience look like to you?
Okay. It's not strange to know that the ones that are very well known are the Chicanos of the West Coast. Maybe because there is more Chicanos over there, maybe because they've been longer, because that's where the Chicano movement started. Chicago just copy everything from them. Everything. Even the infantile doctrine of Chicanismo and Aztlán. They borrow some of the writings of Vasconcelos and twist it around a little, you know. But there is really no deep study of Mexican culture. It's just a facade dressing it up with Aztec trash. And that's negative for the youth, because even right now, that's the way they're going. I hate to go to, I went to this high school, Latino Express, something, and I see the walls and I see nothing but ugly fucking Aztec murals. I go, what the hell is this? And of course they were done by Aurelio Diaz. Aurelio Diaz is a young man that came from Michoacan in the late 70s. And the guy had so much energy. He went around painting pyramids and eagles all over the fucking neighborhood. And nobody could stop him. And what made me sick was that he had an audience, everybody. And I say, oh my God, this guy's gonna turn us all into Aztecs and dancing with their feathers. And I go, oh my God. So I went to this high school not long ago, and there it is. The students are graduating, and they put him right in front of his stupid mural. And I go, oh my God, we haven't changed. What is this?
Recent murals?
Huh?
Or are they recent murals?
No, they're from the past, but he's got followers.
Yeah.
You know, it's maybe because I felt, and not that I felt, I wasn't interested in creating some kind of a center, you know, a cultural center where everybody could be part of. Because that's what we need, that's what we always needed in a cultural center, not a museum with fine arts, you know. We needed a cultural center where we can grow all together. What happened after 30 years, what grew was a Mexican museum. What didn't grow was the entire neighborhood.
One thing that we've read and heard from a lot of people about murals is that they're a communal experience. They're a communal art form. I think you're the first person we've talked to that says, no, a mural is the vision of an artist. Why and how have you resisted the sort of communal nature of murals? Can you tell us more about it?
Oh, I think that, like I say, you know, because we lack, instead of building a museum, we could have a community cultural center where all decisions will be made by the artists and by the people. Instead, what we have is everybody that got involved with cultural issues or murals were people that were not even artists or were not cultural workers or anything. It was just opportunistic people that wanted to make some money. So they make the decisions. The artist in Pilsen is the most devalued person. I mean, let's talk about the truth, okay? There has never been any art market in the neighborhood, not only because people are poor, is that we have become so isolated that we only exist within the communal neighborhood. The galleries are the worst. In other words, another thing that is very important. You will not hear the word modern or contemporary in the whole neighborhood. It doesn't exist. And it's promoted by the Mexican Museum. So we have a problem. Well, we always going to be these fiesta people, you know, singing about piñatas and the Day of the Dead. No. I mean, that's for the people, of course, so they can go out into the streets and have fun. But for a night, a night is supposed to be a thinker, for crying out loud.
It sounds like you're arguing for a seriousness, you know, to the murals that you think is lacking. Is that a fair?
I just say it. The problem today is this. Not everything you see out there is a mural. It's a mixture of all kinds of things. And it has come to the point where it's all controlled, it's all censored, and it's all fun. And the fact that today's murals are not for today's neighborhoods, because Chicago is going towards being another New York. Everybody's being pushed out. That's a fact. It's happening every day. Even me, I'm about to move out of Pilsen after 50 years. And I'm not going to make it public. I'm just going to have to look for another place.
Whoa. Can you tell us about that's totally shocking. You've been in Pilsen for such a long time.
Yeah, and do you think anybody cares? No. I'm an artist. I mean, I've been there all my life. I have given my 20s and 30s to the neighborhood. Nobody cares. I'm not a bad person. I'm just, I mean, you're probably talking to the only artist that has taken art to you know, to the level of someone who thinks, a thinker. An artist, there is a difference between an artist and a painter. I just told you that in the Museum of Contemporary Art, they say that Marcos Raya is the Chicago artist who got mistaken for a muralist. And so much so that lately I've been trying to say that I'm not from Pilsen. And I wasn't born in Pilsen, I'm from Mexico. But with that, and maybe I'm inventing this in my mind, but that's why I want to write a book, why I'm against all branding, you know. Well, he is a Pilsen artist. No, I'm not a Pilsen artist. I am disappointed. I'm totally disappointed of the whole experience. Because why? Show me something of the history of Mexican art in Pilsen that speaks about the experience of being a Mexican in Chicago, not in the neighborhood, in Chicago. Why they ended up into this little town, because that's what it looks like a little town from Saraswato, with Virgenes of Guadalupe in every corner of the neighborhood, knowing very well that La Virgen of Guadalupe doesn't exist, and it was fabricated in Spain so they could steal the body and soul of the Mexicans. Everybody knows it. I have never seen a Mexican painter from Mexico paint a Virgen of Guadalupe. At least not a Mexican muralist. Why can't they borrow ideas from the Mexican muralists, who took muralism to the highest limits? There is no way you can beat the Mexicans. And most of them ended up abstract. I mean, you can start something and go into something else, but not in Pilsen. Pilsen became infantile.
Do you think you can coexist with the newer generation of artists that are doing a lot of crowd-pleasing stuff?
No, I'm too old for. Although a young woman just wrote a book, and this is what we lack. She went to school in France. She's from Mexico. I met her here, and I met her in France, and she got her degree. She's got a doctor's now. She just wrote a book, and she included me in that book. And it's about, and she mentions, I should have brought it with me. I just got it yesterday. She mentions that at one time I was involved with, that I'm the only artist who dealt with social realism at one time, but now I'm fixing it with the post-human. And you can see it in some of my paintings. Mm-hmm. So she read this whole essay about how I'm mixing social realism with technology. And it's really interesting, the words that she uses. This is when we really get serious about being academic. what we lack in the neighborhood is some serious writers or critics. We don't have nothing of that sort. So everything is just pure children tales.
You said a few minutes ago that everything that goes onto the walls in Pilsen right now is controlled. You know, it's not someone just finding a wall and cleansing.
No, yeah, it's a commission.
Who's in charge? Who's doing the controlling?
Globalization. The alderman, the city of Chicago. When Ryan went up there and say, I'm going to put some millions of dollars and give them to the poor people so they can paint their murals. I says, no, thanks. We don't need no stinking murals. What we need is our neighborhood back. I say, you sound like Donald Reagan when he gave cheese to the poor. That's what it sounds like. And when you talk about culture coming from the city, it sounds more like, all right, so we have Michael Jordan, the best basketball player in the world. Okay, we're gonna build some parks so you guys can all go and play basketball and become Jordan one day. It's the same attitude. It's totally infantile. It takes away the fact that murals should be radical.
Murals should be radical. That seems like a recurring theme. So you don't think that corporate-sponsored or government-sponsored art can fulfill this mission that you're talking about of education, of doing the kind of cultural work that you're advocating for? Like, I'm truly trying to understand if there can be, new art going up on the wall.
Let me give you an example.
Sponsored, but that's still fulfilled.
Let me give you an example of how absurd things are. Lately, you've been seeing in the news that for the first time, the city is going to take care of the murals and they're going to make a registration so that nobody can erase them. I go, what? They put it as an example a guy who painted bubble art. Okay? Bubble art, you can see it anywhere in the world. It looks the same. So my question is, since when this became art? Second, why don't they create some kind of a group of people that could go and detect what is garbage and what is not? Because not everything that shines is gold. Not everybody that gets a commission to paint a mural is an artist. People go there because of the little money that they give them. It's easy to say that the nice work, the nice murals and the nice imagery, you will find them downtown or in the north side. And in the poor neighborhoods, you'll see garbage. Okay, so they did include Kazakhstan as one of the worlds that should be preserved. Why? That building is a fucking hotel. No Mexicans will go in there, ever. So with the years that are coming, what you see in Pilsen is just the beginning of what's going to happen to the neighborhood. And you know very well what's going to happen. Kazakhstan will be an eyesore to all the surroundings, and it's going to have to disappear. Because, again, what does Quetzalcoatl has to do with me being a Mexican living in Chicago? Absolutely nothing. When we're in front of Kazakhstan and the TV was there, I was standing right next to Hector Duarte. And they asked us a question. So what do you think, Marcos? I says, I think we should leave this wall alone, go get another one and paint something else. And then Hector, I thought he was going to be on my side. He goes, oh no, can you imagine? That would be like erasing the pyramids. I go, excuse me? See, the pyramids are in Mexico. We're in Chicago way. We're like 2 minutes from downtown. Do you know how it's going to look 10 years from now when the neighborhood changes? They're going to see your pyramids here in the middle of our neighborhood. It's going to be upscale and all white.
Tell me more about protecting murals. This is something we've thought a lot about, and we don't have answers. What level of protections should murals have in Pilsen or anywhere else?
I just told you, it's a lot of the people that are involved with these issues, they're not even artists. They don't know, they don't have a clue of what it is to be an artist or a clue in culture in general. So what I say was, where this thing is going is very easy to see. Um, a lot of the people that I met, some people that I met that are doing murals, they're not even muralists, they just want to get paid. However, if you look at what happened in New York, where these three guys, they painted something on this three-story building. It looks like graffiti, but they call it art. So people just go with it. Oh yeah, that's art. So what happened? They got $9 million from the owner. They demanded him, and they got $9 million. And is that art? Graffiti is a movement that came out of some of the poorest neighborhoods in New York and LA. And they've been around since the 70s. And they're not supposed to last. Why protect them? Street art, it's meant to disappear. Murals, on the other hand, Mexican murals, they're indoors. 99% of the murals in Mexico are indoors. 99% of the murals in Chicago are outside. What, you're gonna create a funny museum of murals in the city of Chicago? With absolutely nothing that unites them except that everybody wants to be famous. Or that's the only reason why they repainted Casas Land. You got all these guys, because Patlan didn't touch that wall. He made other guys painted it for him, which is what he's been doing all his life. He just stood back and got the money and left. That's what's making people create murals.
I want to ask you a couple more questions. First one, following up on that, what role did you play in the original Casa Aztlan plan or painting?
When I arrived, the brown berets were still there, but they didn't last. They disappeared. Like I say, they disappeared, including Ray Patlan. Then we got a new director, and it was a group of volunteers. I stayed in the Casa for 12 years as a volunteer. A lot of years, most of my 20s and my 30s. But then again, not everything was bad, because that's exactly what I needed. I needed a space where I didn't have to pay rent, so I was an artist in residence. And that's where I managed to maintain my vision, right? And one thing I did not do is to join the Chicano movement and its symbolism. I was never interested in that. I wanted to introduce a more radical approach to politics. And that's how I introduced Che Guevara. There is a picture where I met Che Guevara's sister, Celia Guevara. And the golden years of Casa Aztlan was in the beginning of the 80s, when most of the volunteers were students from the University of Chicago. That's where real